So two quick updates. Number one, from last week's video, I did not get laid off this week, and I think I only know of two people who did. So that's a good thing, I guess. I mean, it's for them, they'll be fine, because anyone that gets laid off from my company, they always end up going on to bigger and better things. So I'm not too worried about them, but it's sad to see them go, of course, but they'll be fine in the long run. And overall, I don't know. I don't know what else to say about that. Anyway, that's just kind of to close out last week's video. And now to close out another thing, I finally got the replacement pole from Elgato for the key light. And I say finally, like, oh, that took so long. It didn't take long at all. Like, it only took, what, like 2 weeks? So that's really good. That was a really good customer service on their part. So it's all fine now. And they didn't request me to send the other one back or anything, so that's, you know, that makes it very helpful on my part. I don't have to bother with sending something back, so that's all good. So, Elgato key light, I really enjoy it. I'm not using it right now because it's daytime, so, but when I shoot at night, I do use it, and I eventually I'll get a second one because I think having the two is the best, but for now, the one is fine. So, good on Elgato and their customer service and all that. So, anyway, that's it for getting caught up stuff. Let's go ahead and roll the thing. Hey guys, Shawn here. So I've been talking a lot lately about D&D and how I've been playing D&D at work and how our Dungeon Master got transferred to an office at Minnesota, so we're going to have a new Dungeon Master eventually, and everyone wants me to do it. And so an update on that, well, I guess that's what this whole video is going to be about, is that I've been acting very coy, like, oh, I don't know if I want to actually do that or anything. And then in my free time, I've actually been working on it a lot. So let me show you what I've been doing. And also, I know none of them watch my videos, so none of them are going to know that I've been doing this. So let's go ahead and go over to the desktop here. And so here we have D&D Beyond. So D&D Beyond, I've talked about it before. It's a website that has digital versions of every Dungeons & Dragons book that there is currently for 5th edition, and also you can track your characters on there, and it's just a really amazing resource for Dungeons & Dragons players. So here we have, this is the cover art for the Waterdeep Dungeon of the Mad Mage manual, which a few weeks ago I had the physical book of it and I held it up. So that physical book, that's not actually mine. That's one of the guys I play with. He has bought all the physical books and he gave it to me because he's like, I want you to Dungeon Master this. And I'm like, whatever. So I've just left it on my desk at work, pretending like I'm not actually looking at it. But in actuality, I got it on D&D Beyond so I could use it pretty much anywhere without having to have the digital book. So here's the cover art for it. And then if we go here, so here's all the chapters, essentially, of the book. Here's all the stuff in the book. And you can see, can you see? It is kind of small. Okay, you should be able to see. So here's the thing about the Dungeon of the Mad Mage. It is essentially a mega dungeon that is under the city of Waterdeep. And it is 23 levels deep. And the theory is that it is supposed to take you from level 5 to level 20. And as I've said in previous videos, getting to level 20 can take like 4 years. So essentially what the book is it tells you how to run the adventure, it tells you the history of the dungeon, it tells you how you get into the dungeon, it tells you various hooks that you can use to get people to do the adventures that you want them to do, it tells you secrets, and it tells you the features of the dungeon, and then it gets into each level of the dungeon. So we will go ahead and click on level 1 here. So essentially, when the players first enter the dungeon, this is the first level that they will encounter. So it explains what is in the dungeon here, the various types of things they will encounter, monsters and enemies and what have you. And then it has a map of the dungeon here. Now I have this brought up over here. So this is the map of the first level of the dungeon. And as you can see, it is huge. So if we zoom up on it, each one of these squares is considered to be 5 feet. And each square is enough room for one miniature to fit in. So this is where you start right here. So theoretically, in this starting area, you could fit 16 miniatures in there. And so when we zoom out, knowing that each square is essentially the size of a miniature, that shows you how big the overall map is just for the first level of this dungeon. And so as we zoom back up here, you'll see, so there's 1 here, and if we go back to the book and the website, so number 1 is the entry well, and it explains what's in that room essentially. This is the where you get lowered into this dungeon from. There's an inn above this dungeon that has been built on top of it, and then in the center of the inn there's a giant well, and the guy who owns the inn, he, for a small price, will lower adventurers into this dungeon so that they can explore the dungeon for riches and experience and all the things that people that love fighting in Dungeons and Dragons as opposed to role-playing really enjoy. So as you see, there is the entry well, and that is the first room. Oh, it keeps, every time I go away from it, it reduces it. So that is right here. And then it explains, like, so there's the secret passage here that you can only get through by going around and through and all that stuff. And then it goes into 2A and 2B and 3 and 4. So if we go back to the site, you'll see 2, Hall of Many Pillars. So that's what the 2 is. And 2B is where they have their first actual enemy encounter. And one of the cool things about D&D Beyond is that if you highlight one of the enemies in red here, it brings up their stats. So when you're running the campaign, you just bring up this web page, and then you can quickly see the things. And if you click on them, it'll take you to their page. So the first enemies they will encounter is bugbears, and this explains all the things about bugbears, like what their strength and everything is, and how they fight and what they do each turn and all that. So it's very helpful information. So with that, let's go back to the map again really quickly and take a look here. And oh, why is it not working? Okay, so 2B, that's right here. That's where they will encounter the bugbears and all that. So yeah, essentially they can go north and explore all this stuff, or they can go south and explore all this stuff, and eventually what they want to do is get to here and head down to the next level. And by that point, theoretically they should be level 6, because they should start at level 5 and they should reach level 6 by the time they reach this down to the next level, because they should be level 6 when they hit the second level. But also, as you will see here, there's 41 here is the highest numbered room. That's a lot of rooms. So if we go back to the book here and I scroll down, you'll see it goes on forever. And this is just the first level. And eventually you reach 41 down here, and that will explain what happens in room number 41. So this is a lot to keep track of, and I was trying to figure out what is the best way for me to do that. And what I decided to do was to make a spreadsheet. So let's go over here. So essentially what I did is I made a column for the area. So here we have entry well, that's room number 1, the first place that they go to. And then there's various things that they can encounter within that room. So there's a one-way secret door that they could potentially investigate and find out about. There is searching the sand around the area that they can do, and if they do that, they will find a receipt of deposit at a bank in a far-flung city. So I believe that was something that you were able to decide upon. Let me go back to this. So go back to the top. And room 1. Where's room 1? Yeah, so if you search the sand, you yield something to just discarded gear. So there's a bunch of gear in there. And then a random trinket, which the random trinket was decided by, if we go to chapter 5 of the player's manual, there is this thing of trinkets, and you roll a D100, so I just rolled a percentage die and a D10, and there's 100 different potential things that you could get. So whatever I rolled, I got the what I was saying there, the receipt of deposit at a bank in a far-flung city. Eventually, I'm going to have to create that far-flung city and the bank, so that's a little... I probably shouldn't have done that, because that's going to add a lot of work, but yeah, we'll see what happens with that. And then there's some shields in there. So as we go down, we get into the second room and all the stuff in it, and then eventually we get to the Pillar Forest where the enemies are. And so I have hyperlinked, anytime there's an enemy, I have it hyperlinked to D&D Beyond and the page for that monster type. So that's the encounter column, and then here I have just a little, if they do it, I could put a checkbox next to it just to denote that they did it. So that's what this column is. Next is an HP column, so each monster or enemy that they encounter has a set number of hit points. Now, if we go back to the bugbear here, we can see that, so, where is hit point? Hit points is right here. So it says hit points is 27 or 5d8 plus 5. So if you want, you can just use the base average that they give. So for each monster, they give like a base average, which is 27 for the bugbear. Or if you really want to get nitty gritty into it, you can roll 5d8 and then add 5 to what you get for the hit points for each bugbear that you create. And that's what I did, because I like the idea of having different hit points for each monster. We'll see if I end up continuing with that, but starting out, I kind of like that idea, because why would every bugbear have the same hit points? That doesn't necessarily make sense. So as you see here, the first bugbear that I did roll for, I ended up getting 27, so that you know, is a possibility. And then the second one, I got 29 when I did it. So that's the hit points column. Now, as they're fighting the creatures, they will do damage to them. So let's say they do 4 damage to one of the bugbears. So what I will do is I'll have the spreadsheet up, and I'll just... So they did 4 damage to it. So I'll hit 4 here and put that in. And now what that does is there's this other column here which is left. And this is just explaining how many hit points they have left. So it's just doing the math for me, so I don't have to bother doing the math myself. I guess the only math I will have to do is whenever they do more damage, adding it to what is currently there. But that shouldn't be hard. So if they're like, oh, we did 7 more, then okay, so it's 11 now. Yeah. It's just one less math that I have to do. And then the last column here is the XP. This is how much XP they gain by defeating that creature. So for defeating the bugbear, they will get 200 XP. However, the 200 XP is split between the 6 of them. So I guess that's some other math I will have to do eventually. But I don't need the spreadsheet. I mean, that's what this is for. So that won't be hard to deal with. So yeah, that's what I've been up to. I've been creating this spreadsheet to help out, and so far I have gotten to, let's see, 36C. So I'm almost done with level 1, and then we will move on to level 2. And once I'm all done with the level 1, I will update this. This is the first page, and it's going to have an index. So if I want to go to a specific thing, so like level 1 dungeon, it'll go to the top of this page. Or if I want to go to the 4th room, room number 4, I just... Okay, that's not set up properly yet. Let's do the slanted room. Yeah, there we go. If I want to go to room number 3, it just takes me right to room number 3. So eventually I'll have on the index triggers. It's not triggers, it's hyperlinks. There we go. For each one of these. So, like, if I want to go to 41, let's go. It'll just click on it. It won't be here. It'll be farther down. Anyway, not really the point. But yeah, that's what I've been up to. I hope this ends up being helpful for me as a first-time Dungeon Master. That's the beauty of Dungeons & Dragons, is people can bring their own things into it and all that, and so it's really helpful. All these tools just to help progress the game along. So the tools I will be using is D&D Beyond. I'll have this page open for each level so that I can read the thing out fully and then keep track of everything on the spreadsheet. Now there is one other thing I am considering. In the room that we play Dungeons & Dragons in at work, there's a monitor. There's like a... Well, it's not a monitor, it's a television. There's like a 38, 40-inch television, flat screen television that is not being used at all. It's actually wedged between the wall and a desk. And I've been thinking about it. So the first time we played Dungeons & Dragons, we took a monitor, not this one particularly, but a different one, and put it on its side on the table and used that for the map. And this monitor that I'm talking about that is between the wall and the desk, it's much thinner than that one, so I think it'll work out much better. All we need to do is take the base of it off, because it has, you know, the base stand to hold it up. But if we take it off, it should lay perfectly flat and be really... Because it's only like that thick of a television, because it's, you know, like a modern flat panel television. So I'm thinking of doing that for the maps. It's something that I'm going to have to work out. And then I would have the map... Although, well, there's this version of the map which you were supposed to show the players, because it doesn't have the lists of all the stuff, it's just the map. So if I just use this, throw some fog over everything in Photoshop or something, put layers over it so that they can't see everything, it'll work out better. That's just something else I'm thinking about. That sound you hear, that's Buddy playing with, you know, the discs that have the scratch thing in the middle and then the ball that goes around. That's what that sound is, so, in case you were wondering. So let me know in the comments down below, have you ever Dungeon Mastered for a Dungeons & Dragons campaign? Do you have any tips on what to do? As I've said, I know there's already 137 or something GM tips on Geek and Sundry that Matt Mercer did. So I do have to eventually get around to watching those, but any ideas, or if you've been a player and your Dungeon Master did something that you thought was really interesting and unique, let me know about that as well, because I'm open to all sorts of ideas. And obviously there's no one best way to do anything. It's all up to you, the individual who is the Dungeon Master, and it's up to whatever works best with your group. There's no one perfect way to do it, so that's what makes Dungeons & Dragons interesting, is that it's customizable to the people that are playing it. So, yeah, that's kind of what I like about it. Anyway, while you're down there talking about all that stuff that I just said, if you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button, and if you'd like to see more of the crazy crap that goes on around here, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, and if you'd like to help support the crazy crap that goes on around here, go ahead and hit up my Patreon. Link is in the description. And with that, have a good however long it is until you watch my next video.